guys, it's me Kate and welcome to my classroom. And for today's video, aside from showing you my classroom, I will be reminiscing the past and I will be talking about the day before I entered formal schooling down to me being a teacher here at the Department of Education. But before we start, let me fix first my camera. Well, to those who were following me already in my YouTube channel, they know that I was a product of a broken home. According to my grandparents, my parents got separated when I was still 3 days old. And so I grew up with my grandparents. I grew up with Nanay Berta and Tatay Nito. Look back to the years I spent time with them, I can say that I really enjoyed those years, and right now I'm really having a hard time coping up with the difficulties in life because I always depend on them, my grandparents. But taking that aside, the activities I can remember I engaged in during those days before I entered formal school were playing with my neighbors with various or varying age group. When I'm not playing with them, I used to watch television shows and the famous TV shows during our time where Sinisvela, Matinik, Blue Blink, and of course the telenovela in Tagalog medium. And at night, I always had time to listen to the stories of my Lola. Her stories revolve around her own experiences when she was still a child, her experiences during World War I, and also her experiences before she met my tatay, and then their experiences as a couple. So that basically were the activities I engaged in, and others I cannot remember. To that, resources available at home, which I think developed my emergent literacy, were the books of my uncle. That books were actually his books when he was still in college. So that basically were criminology books because he was a policeman, and also Natasha brochures and Avon brochures because my mother was a distributor of those products. So basically, these are the books that were available, resources available at home. So my parents, specifically my grandparents, they played a significant role in the development of my emergent literacy, for they served as my teacher and as a model. As a teacher, because as a child you have a lot of questions, or as a curious child, out of the curiosity, you don't know what's happening, so of course you have a lot of questions. And then even if my grandma is just a grade 5 pupil and my grandpa is just a grade 4 pupil, although they were not able to finish or to graduate in elementary, but they were able to answer me in a way that I'm satisfied with their answers. And they served as my model because my Lola loves to write. She writes the income of our neighbor, she writes the income of her tupak business, and before, during that time, I can still remember that my Lola is writing to be sent to my aunt in Japan. So after my Lola writes the utang of our neighbor, and after my Lola writes for my aunt to be sent to Japan, I compared their handwriting and I'm really amazed that the handwriting of my Lola is different from the handwriting of my Lola. And I asked them questions, how do they do that? And then they just tell me that you just create lines, anything, and then I try to get a pencil, and then I try to write on the wall, and that's the time that my grandmother would hit me because of that, because of writing on the wall. That certainly developed my emergent literacy. And that before I entered formal schooling, I have already the idea of what color is orange, what is the color of an apple, what is an apple, because they also somehow taught me of the things that were found in the environment. That's exactly the things that were asked, because these are the usual things found in our environment. The next question: when you began schooling, what resources and strategies did your teacher use for, number 1, phonemic awareness? For phonemic awareness, my teacher, Ma'am Kuya, did use Puppet. Puppet, first, she was the puppet, and then we tried to imitate her. But in the imitation, we're given word, and then we try to act like a puppet or a robot. And during that time, because you're a child, I really love acting like a robot, just like that. For the phonics instruction, were introduced to us, or the strategy of our teacher way back, as I can still remember, was the shout and jump. The shout and jump, we will be given words, and then we are going to make a sound of the letters of the words given to us, and then to those who can sound it correctly, then you will be jumping until you reach the blackboard, and that's the time that you will be hailed as the winner. And the classroom was very noisy during the time, and we were so tired, but we were full of excitement, and the fun was there, and we were learning while we're enjoying the company of our classmates. For the fluency instruction, I guess the fluency instruction started when I was in grade 3 already, or grade 4, because during my first grade and second grade, it was not a given focus, because the focus was actually on recognizing the letters, recognizing the sounds, and then recognizing the words, and like that, reading the words itself. But for the fluency, for grade 3 and grade 4, we did oral reading, and of course, in the oral reading, the teacher will somehow will somehow do this. There will be a timing that will be set by the teacher. Of course, I don't want to be bullied. I don't want to be bullied by my classmates, so I really read before that certain day for oral reading, so that I can go with the flow of, or the fluency that my teacher wanted us to have. By just doing this, she will be making somehow a beat, and then we should be following that beat in reading. There's a beat. According to her, reading must always have a feeling, and that feeling will serve as your beat of the fluency of reading. And then for the vocabulary instruction, before the FWOW, which was introduced to us when I was already in high school, the 5 words a week program of the Department of Education, even before that, elementary teachers of mine were already introducing to us this unlocking of difficulties. They will be introducing 10 words, unfamiliar words. They will be giving the definition, and they are going to explain the definition, then they will be giving examples, and after them explaining the example, explaining the definition, it will now be the turn of students, or it will be our turn to give our own example, to give our own sentence of the word being introduced. So through that, there were a lot of learnings I gained. Although not all 10 words were retained, but at least for one day there will be 2, 3, and I can use that in the whole day's activity or lesson. Sometimes in English, sometimes in science, because in elementary we do have one teacher for all the subjects, right? And for the comprehension instruction, I guess the strategy that I can really remember was the peer tutoring, because I served as the tutor of my male classmate. And before the day of reading with the one that I'll be tutoring, the teacher will give me already the material, reading material, and the reading material was perfectly crafted, colors, the size. So I really love reading that even at night, even if I'm already at my room, although the light was not that bright, but I really love reading it because the colors were perfectly being utilized, and that the size also was just enough for me. And that for the day of reading with the one that I tutored during the peer tutoring, peer reading, I can really say that I enjoyed tutoring my classmates, and that it also gave me lesson. It also improved me in reading, even if that certain peer tutoring was intentionally for the slow reader, for my partner who falls under slow reader. But even if I'm not a slow reader, but it did develop me as well as a reader. Were these resources or strategies effective? I think all of the strategies of my teachers in elementary were effective. It's because, I don't know, I must say I'm thankful to them, because for every exams, comprehension exams that I'm taking, luckily I passed all of them. I successfully passed all of those tests, and there was never a time during reading assessment that I fall into frustration level. For the name of the teacher whom I consider highly instrumental in the development of my reading skill, well, it would be my grade 1 teacher, because when I enter the classroom, I cannot identify the sound of the alphabet, because for kinder I can read the alphabet but not the sound. When the alphabet be paired together, consonant plus vowel, then I cannot recognize and I cannot read that one. But when I entered grade 1, and then when the year ended, I was also amazed with myself that I can read syllables already. And the time I spent with the classroom of Ma'am Bartolomea Escoya was the best year of my life. I got to sing, I get to read stories. Some of the stories were being included in our daily routine, and that there were so many instructional materials that were used by my teachers, and we can really manipulate the instructional materials that she used for our reading sessions. And that's what I really love about Ma'am Korea. And of course, she was very motherly. So I think there was never a student who never loved her. She invested most of her time, or devoted her time, making instructional materials for the reading sessions, as well as making our classroom full of books. The classroom were full of books, and that one of our strategies is that we get to choose the story that we wanted to read for that day. We get to choose that, and then since we choose that certain book, we will be reading that one. Then after reading, we'll act it out. We will be acting the story, and that's what makes it very memorable. Number 3, as a teacher, how are the following approaches and activities applied or manifested in your classroom? The first one, the participatory approach. This approach is very much manifested in the teaching I have, because I am handling practical research. And for example, the first competency wherein students shall be able to identify a research problem, I see to it that I include applied economics, wherein I introduce to them some economic problems, wherein they would be able to get a problem out of that, a research problem out of that. I also include their fundamentals of ABM. I see to it that I would be able to know these content areas from their specialization, because this will interest them. And of course, they can participate during the brainstorming, because this is their specialization and they have much idea or knowledge about it. For the cooperative approach is best during the performance task. Cooperative, wherein among my 36 students, I'll be regrouping them. I will be grouping them into 6. So from 36, they will be having 6 members for each group. So that will be having 6 groups in my class. And then for those 6 groups, they will be working together. In order to finish a task, to finish my task, especially in practical research, because that is a research related subject. So I see to it that they really come by group. They will be helping each other so that they successfully finish the competency intended for them to acquire. For the collaborative activity, there are so many collaborative activities wherein the students will be having small groups, or they will be having by pair, and then they should and must cooperate with each other, meaning coexist with each other, meaning the one will benefit, but not just himself or herself, but all the members in the group. The HOTS, or the higher order thinking skills activities, of course this will be the activities that would make my students think critically. Of course, there will be no fixed questions. That should always be an open-ended questions to let them analyze the situation, to let them synthesize the idea or the discussion, and that these higher order thinking skills will somehow develop our students to be a problem solver. They will treat problem in a way that should be treated positively. For creative learning, it doesn't mean that the students will just have to have a creative touch in their output, but creative learning is letting them create new theories, create new concepts, or create solutions, or they will try to create new ideas coming from the existing ideas. And all this develops students functional literacies, or the needed literacies or competencies, for example, the writing, the reading, into the real life purposes that would let them function in the community where they belong.
What's that?